Everybody, it is still dry January, so today's show is all about alcohol and midlife health because alcohol affects midlifers very, very differently. So I'll let you guys start coming on. Hello, cheers. It's a non-alcoholic. This is one of the things that has really kind of helped me. So I'll let you guys start coming on. Today's show, hi for craft's sake, today's show is all about alcohol and midlife health because it affects us very, very, very differently. So although I have my mocktail here, I'm gonna give you guys some real tools that have really helped me to cut my alcohol out of my life. And so we're gonna get to those, but I wanna talk about first a little bit about my backstory for a second. Hi, Debbie. So it's been about 2 years now since I cut alcohol out of my life, and I was sober curious. And this really kind of happened at the end of, or towards the end of COVID, when I started realizing not only were my clients drinking more, because we were in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, hello, but I was consuming more as well. And as a health coach, that made me feel like a hypocrite. So I really started doing a deep dive. This is non-alcoholic, everybody, so hold on. And I really should get my mushroom coffee over here because this is more my speed this time of day. But I really started doing a deep dive into the health behind alcohol, the advertising behind alcohol, and how getting control of your alcohol can actually help affect every single aspect of your life and not just your health. So when I turned 50 is when I really kind of started looking at my alcohol intake. And that's when I really started, and I'm 56 now, so it's been 6 years when I really kind of started looking at this and reducing my alcohol intake. But it's at that age that I started not feeling 100% the next day. And I'm gonna get into why that happens to us in midlife. And it's still dry January, you guys. Just because you're still drinking doesn't mean that you can't stop or cut down towards the end of January and have it be something that actually sticks. And so, dry January and beyond is kind of the goal. So it's not too late for that. It's never too late to start really prioritizing your health. But it was about 2 years ago I became sober curious, and that's when I kind of started going in menopause at the age of 50, and my body just did not bounce back the way that it normally did. And so I was running at about 90% in the morning, and I've got shit to do. So 90% was not really good enough for me. So I want to go into why it is that we hold on so fiercely to our alcohol. And I'm a health coach, and I did it as well. So why is it that we drink? There's a whole psychology behind drinking. Remember, it's one of those life milestones. When we're 13, we're like, oh my God, I'm a teenager now. When we're 16, we get to drive. When we're 18, we get to vote. And when we're 21, in this country at least, that's when you get to drink. So it is a rite of passage into adulthood. So think about already how that messes up with your mind. We feel that it is our right as an adult to drink. So just think about that for a second. But why we drink is that it has become so marketed to us that it is at the center of every single social event. I went to a baby shower 6 months ago, and there was alcohol at the baby shower. Now, of course, the mom didn't drink, but everybody else did. And so it's become in this country difficult to even go to any sort of social occasion where a drink is not put in your hand. And the latest one was I went to a wedding, and it used to be you'd go to a wedding and you'd see the marriage of the bride and groom, and then you'd have your cocktail hour, and then you'd go to dinner. You'd have your dinner. But before they even walked down the aisle, a glass of champagne was handed to me. So we can't even watch two people commit their lives together in holy matrimony without a cocktail in our hand. It's just become that prominent. Hi, good afternoon. Good Saturday afternoon, Oreo cows ate. And so it has become like this thing that is just bombarded by us. And the advertising is $7.7 billion in ads alone, just in the US. It is marketed to us all the time. And that's up from 6.7 billion in 2020. So after COVID, we're spending more money. The advertisers are spending more money. Manufacturers of alcohol are spending more money to get us to buy this. There's 4 times more advertising outside of the home on billboards and magazines and etc. than alcohol, than any other type of product. And there's a 9.2 annual growth in digital advertising of alcohol. And the thing that just like literally happened, I want to say less than a year ago, is every time now when I order Uber Eats, there is a prompt to have me order alcohol to be delivered at the same time. Are you guys getting, for my friends here in the US, are you getting the same thing where, you know, you order Uber Eats and you're just looking for something healthy and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, add on beer, wine, spirits, bottle of gin, whatever it is, and it'll be delivered at the same time? I mean, that's just, it's always right in front of our faces, right? It's right in front of our faces. And so the latest research, it used to be that when we were younger and, you know, it was touted as like, yes, it's this rite of passage of being an adult, right? 18 versus 21. But also it used to be thought that it was okay to have a glass of wine. It was supposed to be heart healthy, reduce your stress, right? It was supposed to be very good for us. I love that For Craft's Sake is talking to Christine in Germany. For Craft's Sake lives in South Africa, and Christine, who's on here a lot as well, lives in Germany. And I just love that the two of you guys have connected. I love that. Okay, anyways, the latest studies have shown that, you know, people that drink red wine, it used to be thought that they live longer, and they thought it was the polyphenols in the red wine that was helping people live longer. And what they realized is that no, there was a lot of confounding variables. So the people that could have a glass or two, or in some cases 3 or 4 a night, were able to afford the glass or 2 of red wine or cocktails. And so they were thinking that it was lowering your stress level, when in actuality, a higher socioeconomic class, more money, gives you access to better fruits and vegetables, to organic produce, gives you access to healthcare, to better doctors, to environments in which noise pollution and air pollution and water pollution is not as drastic. So it's the, I hate to say it, but the richer you are, statistically, you're going to live longer because you have access to more things. And so when they did the studies of red wine makes you live longer because of the polyphenols, because of the resveratrol, it's absolutely not true. It had those confounding variables of socioeconomic class. So all of those studies have been retracted, or at least we hope that they're in the process of being retracted. So it is the upper middle class, educated people that have the higher rates of drinking. And here is the thing that is mind-blowing to me. Women have the most amount of people that are drinking in midlife are women. The more people that are taking up drinking in midlife are women, because we're done raising our children. We're often in that sandwich generation where we're still raising grown children, and taking care of our elderly parents. And so the stress level in that kind of caretaking has caused more women to take up the bottle or the glass. And so it is more women, more educated, and women nowadays have entered the workforce at a different rate than it was like in the 1950s. And so for women, we're like, we want to be part of the boys, go out for that after work drink. When we retire or when we're done with our job, we tend to carry that drink, that habit of alcohol into our midlife. And older people will often say, well, I've always drank like this. I used to say that too. Well, I've always drank like this, until my body started saying, you don't always recover like this, and you're never going to recover like that again, because our bodies change. So I want to get into that, but before I do that, here's an article from the New York Times. Older people, it affects their body differently because our bodies do not process alcohol as quickly. It's the same thing as like when you go under anesthesia. Any sort of, I want to say not controlled substance, but any sort of medication that you are taking, especially if it's a controlled substance, especially if it's like alcohol, if it's anything like Xanax, prescription pain medication, all of that stuff. I want to say the shelf life, but it's not really the shelf life. It is the life of that medication affecting your body takes longer. It stays in your system longer as an adult. And as a midlifer. And when I started, and I'm going to get to this article, when I started really looking at my drinking and started doing these little experiments of tracking what did I eat the next day? Like after, let's say I had a cocktail, pretend this has real alcohol in it. This was my alcohol of choice when I used to drink, but let's pretend this has vodka instead of just Palm Wonderful and a little bit of a seltzer water and a fresh mint and some lemon. But let's pretend that this was my old drink, which contained alcohol. What they are saying is that it stays in our system a lot longer. So even like when you go under for anesthesia, that stays in your system longer. If you're taking a Xanax at night to try to sleep or to try to cope with anxiety, it stays in your system longer in midlife. And there's lots of reasons. Muscle mass, muscle contains more water. There's lots of other reasons, but I want to get to this article real quick. So this says, this was in the New York Times, and it says alcohol carries more risk in middle ages. And it says people between the age of 35 and 50 reported record high levels of binge drinking. Record high levels of binge drinking. So what we're doing at this age, from 35 to 50, is we're trying to control our drinking. And then once we drink, it's like, you know what, I'm going to be good for the whole week. And then I'm going to let go on the weekend. And that is considered binge drinking. And we'll talk about what that, how much is too much and what does that mean in just a second. But I want to go through this article real quick. Researchers are not entirely sure why middle-aged drinkers are on the rise. So they have noted that some adults in the age range face the pressures caring for both children and aging parents, which I talked about a little bit earlier. And there's heightened demands at work and loneliness. So a lot of times what happens is, we've got women that have been in the career field for a long time, and they've raised their young children. They're now having their older parents to have to take care of them. They're taking that habit of drinking from the workplace to the home. And there's a lot of pressure involved in that. And so it's the coping skills that are not there. A night of heavy drinking is more risky at 55 than at 25. This is all from the New York Times. This is the New York Times article that I'm reading here. Just the highlights for that. For a few reasons. Alcohol can compound health issues that are common in middle age. It's more common in middle age, but not necessarily, you're destined to it. So we talk a lot about health hacks that we can do to make things that are commonly age related not inevitable, okay? But alcohol can compound health issues that are common in middle age, like blood sugar problems or high blood pressure. Hold on one second. Let me get through this and I'll try to see if I can go back. Even a drink or two can temporarily raise a person's heart rate. So think about this. Even a drink or two can raise your heart rate. If you have heart issues and your heart rate is raised through a chemical like alcohol, you are at higher risk of heart attack and stroke. That's just common sense. So it can raise that rate, increasing the heart Let me take another swig of mushroom coffee and wake my brain up and untwist my tongue. Hold on one second, everybody. Holy crap. I just could not get that sentence out. Okay. So as we age, there's a lot of different things that can have an effect on our alcohol. The common medications people take more frequently in middle age, like blood thinners, can interact with even small amounts of alcohol, potentially causing serious complications like internal bleeding. So if you are somebody who's 50, 60, 70 years old and you're having that cocktail and you want that one scotch a night or whatever it is, medications that you are taking mix with that alcohol in a way that can cause internal bleeding. So you'll see a lot of older people that need to go in for transfusions. There's bleeding somewhere in their body, right? Your body can absorb it back again, but you're losing blood. And if you are drinking alcohol with that, your risk is just that much higher. Lots of complications. As we age, our bodies process alcohol less efficiently, which we talked about, so our tolerance can dip. So even though you think like, I've drank this way my whole life, nobody can tell me to stop drinking. I'm gonna drink like I normally do. Your tolerance drops. The liver strains more to metabolize that martini or that Manhattan, and that natural loss of muscle mass. So again, muscle mass loss is not inevitable, but if you do nothing to gain that muscle mass, like you're not working out in the gym, you are going to lose muscle mass. It's called sarcopenia. It's when the fat starts infiltrating the muscle. It's really, really difficult to lose weight when that happens, when that fat starts infiltrating the muscle. So muscle contains more water. It holds more water. It takes more water to maintain a muscle. It takes more water that is held in that muscle. And so if you have a bigger muscle mass, this is why men can drink more than women. If you have a larger amount of muscle mass, your body can metabolize alcohol quicker. If you have a lesser amount of muscle mass, men compared to women, you do not metabolize it as quickly. Now we add in middle age, where there is a natural, not inevitable, but a natural decline in muscle mass, and the way that you used to drink when you were in your 30s, you can no longer drink in your 50s and 60s because your muscle mass is not that water dilution of alcohol. How alcohol is diluted is through the water composition that we have in our body. So if muscle contains more water, it stands to reason the more muscle mass you have, the less intoxicated you're going to become, and the better it is for your body. Because the intoxication is the part, although it's fun, not the part that is healthy at all. Okay, does that make sense, everybody? So when we start declining our muscle mass in midlife, all of a sudden it's going to wreak havoc on a lot of different things. And so what this means is that with that muscle mass, the alcohol is going to linger in your system a lot longer and have a lot more negative health effects. And we can get intoxicated much quicker and stay intoxicated much longer. And even the next day, listen, when I gave up drinking, or when I was giving up drinking and I was doing all these little experiments, like, oh, okay, went out with friends, had a couple of cocktails at dinner, Let me see how I do in yoga the next day. Now, I've been doing yoga for a very long time, since I was mid-20s, my 30s maybe. And I'm a 500-hour yoga instructor. So for me to like hold something like, you know, even like a tree pose, I would test my ability to stay in a pose, whether I had a cocktail the night before or not. And I'm telling you, it affected everything, because I could stay in a tree pose for quite some time. And so when I would lose my balance, if I'm in a tree pose, you know, that's the one with you've got the one leg up. If I'm in the balance and I notice like, okay, no, this is off, I would make a mental note of that, and after class, write it down. So that if you think about it, if you can equate a lack of balance with alcohol staying in your system for longer, not only are you going to be less likely to make it to the gym the next day because you're not feeling great, but when you do go to the gym the next day, your coordination and your balance is not going to be the same had you not had that drink the night before. Does that make sense, everybody? For those of you who are just joining, this whole show is on alcohol and midlife, and how alcohol affects us in midlife in a very different way. And I'm going to give some real tips on how to really I'm going to give some real tips on how to really quit and make alcohol not a part of your life. So I'm going to get back to this article real quick. So the negative health effects from decades of drinking include cancer, heart and liver disease, and they often start emerging in middle age. So if we've been drinking since we were 21, that stuff it's still wreaking havoc on your body. If you were to pour alcohol, even just like a little cup of alcohol, into your mouth and hold it in your mouth, let it burn, right? Feel that burn that happens from alcohol. And if you just connect the dots of how long can you hold alcohol in your mouth, let it eat up all the lining around your gums, around your tongue, the roof of your mouth, your cheeks. See what that does to you. There's a reason why when we gulp that down, that first burn that happens, and then you don't feel it after that, because we don't have the same nerve endings in our esophagus down into our stomach, down here, down through our colon, where through the digestive tract, the alcohol travels. From mouth to anus, it increases your risk of cancer. Think about that. Anything that the alcohol, this is not alcoholic, but anything that alcohol touches, so gum cancer, mouth cancer, lip cancer, tongue, esophageal cancer, stomach cancer, colon cancer, anal cancer, everything that alcohol touches. And if you don't think that that is a possibility, hold it in your mouth. Let it sit there for a while. And then think, what is this doing to every part of my digestive tract that the alcohol is touching? Does that make sense, everybody? Thanks, John. Does that make sense, everybody? It's really shocking. And there's emerging research, this is still going back to this, emerging research that suggests heavy drinking in middle age may raise the risk of cognitive impairment later in life. That is absolutely true. There's so much evidence about alcohol and dementia and Alzheimer's. So if you want to keep your faculties when you get older, stop drinking now. Stop drinking now. Because some of that you're going to get back and some of it you might not. That's just the truth. There's a lot about cognitive impairment in later life, which may be because alcohol can damage brain cells. The Surgeon General recently said that drinking contributes directly to cancer risk and has called for warning labels on all alcoholic beverages. So eventually, just like on the labels of cigarettes, how now the labels of cigarettes say, will cause cancer, will cause birth defects, will cause... They are working on getting labels on every single alcoholic beverage. And in fact, there's another country that's already, was it the Netherlands? I'll get to it in a second. But there's a country that in the next year, when I took into Christian class in college, we learned about alcohol and how it has no purpose in the body and only causes health problems. Kex QT, you're absolutely right. There's no reason for it in the body. And if it didn't feel so good and help us, feel so good when we're slightly intoxicated, the only benefit alcohol has is it a social lubricant. It is a social lubricant. But the problem is, being a social lubricant, is that it's still, people don't stop once their tongue gets a little loose. People don't stop there. Why? Because you are carrying around an alcoholic beverage. Again, this is non-alcoholic. You're carrying around an alcoholic beverage at a fill-in-the-blank social event. And oftentimes we will go to social events because we know that it gives us an excuse to drink. I'm going to talk about owning your shit a little bit later. But we're carrying around an alcoholic beverage that dehydrates us. It's known to dehydrate us. And yet we're not also carrying around a thing. We're not double fisting it. We're not saying alcoholic beverage, non-alcoholic, alcoholic beverage. When we're carrying this around with us at a social event and we get thirsty, we're going to drink the thing that is liquid that we're holding on to, which dehydrates us, which makes us thirsty, which makes us drink the liquid we're holding on to, which dehydrates us, which makes us thirsty, which makes us drink. Do you get it? It is a slippery slope to drinking too much. It's a slippery slope. And we think we have the solution for our thirst right in our hand. That's why they say drink an alcoholic beverage and then drink a glass of water. It's still, again, hold it in your mouth. Think about what that does to the lining of your mouth when you're holding straight alcohol in your mouth. When you go get that down, that's the burn, right? But you don't feel it. You just feel the warmth. You don't feel the pain down here. It's doing the same thing. So when I say from mouth, oral cavity, through to the anus, every part that digests alcohol, your risk for cancer is increasing. Johnny, a social lubricant. It's a social lubricant. Once that lubrication's done, step away. But people don't do that. Why? Because we've got this, I'm thirsty. I'm dehydrated. I'm thirsty. This is going to dehydrate me. I'm going to drink it again. It's going to dehydrate me. I'm going to drink it again. Does that make sense, everybody? So, but here's some good news. Scaling back on alcohol can greatly cut your risk of developing or worsening chronic diseases linked to drinking. Even if you've been a heavy drinker for years, your liver can at least partly recover. Our livers are amazing organs. They really are. I think it's one of the most amazing organ in the whole body, in that it's kind of like a lizard's tail. Chop it off and it will regenerate. Insane. But we do damage to our bodies, and our organs are made to help protect us, but we are doing way too much damage, you guys. And there's too much marketing. If you know what a Clydesdale, a Budweiser horse looks like from a very young age, we have been fed this shit since we were little. That it's okay. It's a rite of passage into adulthood. Guess who's making money on that? These guys. It's not helping you. They're making a lot of money. Okay, so your liver can regenerate if you stop, and cutting out drinking can also help people recover from conditions like alcohol-induced cardiomyopathy. So there's heart issues that can happen from drinking alcohol. That occurs in long-term heavy drinkers where it actually damages the heart. But there's hope. There's hope, because if I can quit drinking, and drinking has been a part of my family culture. I grew up like that. My grandfather, who would take us fishing, always had an ice chest full of beer at every family gathering. Like, I'm sure many of you, there's always alcohol there. So when you're wanting to quit, it's very difficult. But when we're talking about midlife in particular, okay, midlife in particular, alcohol affects midlife individuals more significantly, because as we age, remember, our metabolism changes, our muscle mass goes down, not inevitably, but it does. And so it starts affecting us a lot more. It leads to higher blood pressure. And it leads to higher intoxication, even with the same amount of alcohol that we used to be able to drink. So the key points about alcohol in midlife is slower metabolism. As we age, our liver function declines. So it takes longer to break the alcohol down. It leads to higher alcohol consumption. Our body composition changes. So muscle mass decreases, fat increases, not inevitable. If you are somebody who is losing muscle mass and gaining fat, DM me the word coaching and let me help you, because gaining weight in midlife is not inevitable. You can be in the best shape in your midlife than you have ever been in your entire life before. How do I know? Because I do it all the time with my clients. So when I post this to my main feed, there's a couple different things that you can comment, okay, that will get you some tools. One is you can comment sober curious, not here, when I post it to my main feed. Comment sober curious, and I'm going to give you the tools that have helped me to be able to quit. You can also comment the word coaching, and it'll get you on my calendar. If you're having trouble, you need help, I'm here to help you, whether it's with weight loss, whether it's with optimizing your health, whether it's with increasing bone density, with exercise, or quitting alcohol. All of it. I'm a health coach with a plethora of different training in multiple different things. So in midlife as well, it increases your health risks, right? So if you're experiencing things like high blood pressure in midlife, again, DM me the word coaching. Let me help you with that so that you're not on blood pressure medication, and then we can get your blood pressure down. But things like conditions like high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, all worsen with alcohol consumption. And it interacts with a lot of different medications that, as we know, just statistically, medications increase with age. Not if you're one of my clients. We try to get you off of that and get you into some lifestyle hacks to where you're not just compounding medications throughout your life. But the interaction between alcohol and medications is severe. And the impact on cognitive functioning. So if you want to have all your brain cells, you want to be able to continue to learn things and be sharp all the way up to the end, you need to quit drinking. Those cognitive declines and memory problems that are alcohol related are way more intense and noticeable with age. Okay. Moving on. So we want to talk about, listen, I can tell you about the things that have helped me, but part of the things that, let me just move on, because I want to show you guys eventually. Once I get to a point, there's a part of what helped me in just owning my shit about, like, what kind of problem did I have? How much alcohol was I drinking? I started keeping track of all of that kind of stuff. But I want to show you a little bit later, what does that mean to be a light drinker, a moderate drinker, or a heavy drinker, right? Because a lot of us think that we're light drinkers, or, we're moderate drinkers, and we're actually heavy drinkers, and we just don't know it because we've got portion control problems. Even in restaurants, there's portion control problems, right? There just are. And the same thing when you get a glass of wine. How many people have gotten a glass of wine? Now, this is a non-alcoholic. This is like these little tinctures that I use. But how many of you guys have gotten a glass of wine? It's like, this is a glass of wine. This is not a glass of wine. This is 2 glasses of wine. It's just in a bigger glass. And we tend to do that at home, right? Oh, I didn't have one glass of wine. I didn't have 3 glasses of wine. I had 1 glass of wine. Let me show you what a glass of wine actually looks like. And then we can own our shit if we are a moderate drinker or a heavy drinker. So the next time when you go for your physical and your doctor says, how many drinks do you drink per week? Which is on any physical. It's a question that anytime you go to a doctor, they're going to ask you, how many alcoholic beverages do you have per week? Stop lying. Stop lying. Because if you're lying to your doctor about how many alcoholic beverages that you're having per week, you probably need to quit. Okay? You probably need to quit. So let's just go over what it is. So the RDA, the recommended daily allowance, is 5 ounces. And again, this has all been retracted. These are the old things, the old parameters on drinking, on what was supposed to be safe. Those parameters are gone now. 0 amount is safe, but I'm going to show you what it used to be. So 5 ounces of wine. Okay, even have, this is an alcohol-free wine, which I love. And I'm going to get to those again because, listen, I didn't just cold turkey and it was so easy. It wasn't easy. But I have some real solutions. So let's get to 5 ounces. I'm going to show you. That's even more. I went even more. So this is almost 6 ounces. This is almost 6 ounces. Let's pour this into a glass of wine. Sorry, my wine glass is very dirty because I had a lot of other stuff in it. But that's 6 ounces. So this is 1 ounce more. This is 1 ounce more than what, let me pour 1 ounce back in here. Why don't I just do that? Could do that. Okay. This is a 5 ounce glass of wine. When you're going to your doctor and you're saying, oh, I drink 2 glasses of wine a night when I'm cooking. Does it look like this? Have you really got out a measuring thing and measured 5 ounces? So when we're talking about being a moderate consumer, for women, it's 1 drink a day or less. So think about that. 1 drink, a standard size drink, not the big gulp version, not the half a bottle glass, but a 5 ounce glass of wine for a moderate consumption is 1 day, 1 of these a day. So having 2 or 3 or 3 or 4 a day is considered heavy consumption. So let's be real with ourselves for a second, right? Are we a light drinker? Are we a moderate drinker? Are we a heavy drinker? And that's hard to swallow, to label yourself as a heavy drinker. But I'm telling you, as a health coach, even as a health coach, if we were to look at this as 1 of these a day is a moderate drinker and 1 or more, 2 or more, 2 to 3 per day, in this size, in this 5 ounce size is a heavy consumption. I was a heavy drinker. I wouldn't have categorized myself as that because I'd have a couple of these, cooking, having a glass of wine, and then it takes you into dinner. And then it takes you into what are you going to watch afterwards? So that by the time that, you got done, it might have been 2 or 3 glasses of this. That's heavy drinking. That's heavy drinking. So as people continue to drink alcohol over time, it changes the structure of the brain. Before we do that, I'm going to pour this back in. No, you know what? Let me pour this out. Honey, can you just bring me an empty glass, just like a pour glass that I can use? Because I do want to show you what it looks like, what a normal thing for this is. Your straight alcohol, your heavy alcohol. What is a normal pour for this? And what constitutes a moderate drinker versus a heavy drinker. Thank you so much, baby. Okay. So let me just pour this out. Well, oh well. Honey, actually, can you do me one more favor? Can you just go get me a glass like this that's in the bar? Or one of our small glasses. One of our small glasses here will work. So sorry, everybody. Okay. So when we're talking about beer or wine, or sorry, beer, it's 12 ounces of beer. 3 days a week. No more than that. 12 ounces of beer 3 days a week. How many people who are beer drinkers have 12 ounces of beer only 3 days a week? And like I said, nowadays they're saying no amount is safe. But when it comes to like regular alcohol, okay, so 1.5 ounces, that's what I was going to do, sorry. It's going to be a little pink colored, but that's okay. 1.5 ounces. Oh my gosh. Here we go with the vodka. Can you guys see this? So 1.5, let me get the rest of this pink out. 1.5 ounces. See if I can do it. That's a little heavy. This is a heavy pour. This is 2. Can you guys see that? This is the ounces here. So this is a little bit of a heavy pour. This is 2 ounces. It's a little pink because it had the red wine in it. 2 ounces. That's it. So for a woman, 1 drink a day. Now, of course, you'd add your soda water, you do whatever, but 1 of these a day would be considered to be moderate drinking. 2 or 3 is heavy drinking. That's heavy drinking. And let's just be honest. When you're pouring a cocktail at home, there's very few people that are going to pour, 1.5 ounces of hard alcohol. So again, no limit is safe. As people continue to drink alcohol over time, it changes the structure and the function of the brain. And this is the thing that really, when my mom got diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and a lot of you guys know my mom has Alzheimer's, I'm going to see her tomorrow. She's home from the hospital. Oh, what a blessing. She's home from the hospital. She still has Alzheimer's, but she survived a heart attack. But that said, as people continue to drink alcohol over time, it changes the structure, not only the structure, but the function of the brain. And it also drives drinkers to do other things as well. So it is kind of like a gateway thing. You make poor decisions when you drink alcohol. If any of you guys have ever and I'm married and I'm happily married, and I don't mean it like this, but if any of you guys ever woke up the next morning and been like, wow, that was not my best moment at that point. It changes the way that you think, right? So you make decisions that you oftentimes will regret or just plain stupid. But there is alcohol use disorder. So when it changes the function, and you're outside of that realm of what is a moderate drinker, it can lead to alcohol use disorder. And it's unclear if the brain can actually change all the way back to prior to your alcohol consumption. And a growing number of studies suggest that with months of abstinence, so it takes months, not just dry January. And that's why I'm saying, yeah, it's January. We're in mid-January right now. Think about it as dry January and beyond. Because 1 month of abstaining is not going to reverse the effects that you've had, that alcohol has done to your brain and your body for all of that time. But it is possible to reverse some of the damage if you abstain. There are more deaths from alcohol than any other drug overdoses combined. And then you combined that, I want to repeat that. There are more deaths from alcohol than any other drug overdoses combined. Now, when you add into that midlife medications and medications that older people take, again, not inevitable, DM me coaching, but it compounds that problem. And so more than any other drug combined, you take fentanyl, you take painkillers, whatever you want, combined, alcohol causes more deaths. That to me is shocking. Those over 65 years old, alcohol-related deaths accounted for 38% of those deaths. And from 1999 to 2020, 237% increase in deaths from alcohol in ages over 55. 237% increase in deaths of alcohol in ages over 55. Within that year, over 55 is higher than any other age group. So think about that, you guys. I'm 56. 55 is the age that is the highest consumers of alcohol. That's also the sandwich generation, right? You're taking care of younger kids, or in my case, adult children that still need some rearing to do, child rearing to do, and elderly parents. You're sandwiched in between these. So 55, that is the highest alcohol consumption age. What does it do to the brain? It affects the brain's communication pathways. It affects the size of the brain, the physical structures of the brain, how the brain works. Brain areas controlling balance, which is why I can't hold a tree pose the day after drinking as much, right? Your triangle of you said, and during COVID, death went even higher and record hospitalizations and suicide by alcohol during COVID. Absolutely, absolutely. That when I'm looking at these years from 1999 to 2020, like we're in COVID then, 237% increases in deaths from alcohol over the age of 55. Our bodies at this age, you guys, listen, I'm pro-aging. I am I would not go backwards for anything. I love being 56 years old, but you have to take care of your body. We can't be stupid about it like we were when we were in our 20s, right? It's not cool or funny to be hungover. It's just not. I look at somebody who's hungover. Oh my God, I had too much to drink, and I just think like, I don't want to say stupid, but bad choice. Come on, bad choice. Because we're talking about one body that we have. We only got this one chance at it, right? It shrinks the brain. It changes how the brain works. It changes balance, memory, speech, judgment, all of that. Long-term drinkers can change the neurons and reduce the size of the neurons. This is why alcohol it's a known carcinogen that has been spoon-fed to us, bottle-fed to us since the time we were little. We strived to be 21 so that we could drink legally, right? That was a big thing. Why? There's not 1 ounce of evidence that shows that it's good for you. So once a brain cells die, the brain damage is irreversible. Once a brain cells die, it doesn't come back to life, right? Some alcohol-related brain damage is reversible, though, if you abstain, and if the neuron has only changed size but hasn't died. So you can get some of that function back. Blood clots, ischemic strokes, blood clots to the artery leading to the brain. All of these things increase with age, with alcohol use. And the interesting part is the reduction of the brain's white matter. I just find that to be just crazy. If you could see an image of your brain in your 20s and see an image in your brain midlife after, gosh, I wish I would have had those visuals because I know that they're out there. Look it up. Look up Google a brain of a midlife heavy drinker versus somebody who abstains, also midlife. See the difference. There's a huge difference. It affects short-term memory and long-term memory. And then according to the Alzheimer's Society, there's enough evidence to show that excessive drinking increases the risk of dementia. Excessive drinking increases the risk of dementia. And we now know, I'm going to pour this back in, what exactly is excessive drinking? It's 2 of these. That's already constitutes excessive drinking. 1.5 ounces more than 3 days a week is excessive drinking. So when you go to your doctor and they ask you, do you have 7, and I know what the question is it 7 or more drinks per week? Or is it under? That doesn't mean days of drinking. That means number of drinks. So this would be 1 drink. You know, you fill it up again, you've got 2 drinks. You do that a few times a week. You're already past the 7 drinks per week and you are a heavy drinker. So the heart, it is not good for the heart either, especially for long-term drinkers and binge drinkers. So cardiomyopathy, that drooping and stretching of the heart muscle, arrhythmias like irregular heartbeat, strokes, high blood pressure, heart disease, heart failure. Now let's talk about the liver. Wow, I haven't seen you since Santa Anita. Oh my God, Wow Creations, I haven't seen you since Santa Anita. It's so good to see you. We're talking about alcohol. We were probably getting drunk back then, weren't we? I think we were. Okay, so let's talk about the liver. Inflammation of the liver, fatty liver disease. 1 in 10 people are going to have fatty liver disease. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease versus fatty liver disease. It's, it can progress to cirrhosis of the liver and oftentimes does if you're a heavy drinker. So there's also alcoholic hepatitis, fibrosis, cirrhosis of the liver is irreversible. Let's talk about the pancreas because the alcohol causes the liver to produce toxic substances, right? Which leads to pancreatitis. That's fun. A dangerous inflammation in the pancreas, swelling, and it's very, very painful. I had a friend who had pancreatitis who was a heavy drinker. I don't think she should classify herself as a heavy drinker, but it impairs the ability for enzymes and hormones to properly digest. And so you will end up with pancreatitis and potentially have to get surgery. Sugar levels. The pancreas helps your body to respond. So now we've just messed up our pancreas. And what does the pancreas do? The pancreas helps your body to respond to sugar levels, increasing glucose, right? So does alcohol increase your risk of type 2 diabetes? Absolutely. If you are diagnosed as pre-diabetic, one of the first things the doctor is going to tell you to do is quit drinking. Because it's going to increase your risk of type 2 diabetes. So your digestive system, and we talked about this, everything from mouth through all the way, digestion, whether it's the pancreas, kidneys are involved, all of it. Your stomach, your large intestines, your small intestines, your anus, your mouth, your esophagus, cancer increases. Cancer increases. I wonder how many of us would be inclined to continually put something into our body like asbestos or glyphosate, Roundup. Would we continue to do that? Knowing what we know that those cause cancers? We wouldn't, but we continue to do that with alcohol, right? So from mouth to anus, I want you to think about that. And if that doesn't make sense to you, take a swig of alcohol, hold it in your mouth. It's going to eat up the lining of your cheeks, around your gums. You're going to feel that burn on your tongue. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Your eyes are going to start watering. Your nose is going to start watering. That is going down your body. You just don't have the same nerve endings in your mouth because we want to, if something's too hot or we want to spit it out, right? We have different nerve endings here that tell us something's not good for us. There's a reason why it burns because it's telling us don't swallow it. Don't put that in your body. And yet we get it down to where we don't have those nerve endings anymore. I'm telling you. So gas, bloating, fullness in the abdominal, diarrhea. Have you ever drank and then the next morning you have diarrhea? It's your body telling you something. You got to get rid of that stuff. Ulcers, hemorrhoids due to dehydration. Those are fun. Skeletal and muscular systems. Long-term alcohol affects bone density. So if you're a drinker and you're a menopausal woman, hi Stacy, if you're a drinker, you're a menopausal woman, you have to know that that is affecting your bone density. So with falls, fractures, more common in women, especially with the decline in estrogen. If you're not on hormone replacement therapy, by God, get on it, because it will help protect your bones. But alcohol will strip your bones, and so it makes them thinner and more fragile and creates muscle weakness and eventually atrophy. We talked about cancers. It is a known carcinogen. The more alcohol a person regularly drinks over time, whether that's no more than one alcoholic beverage per day, or you're binge drinking, which is 4 or more, that's a binge drink if you're 4 or more alcoholic beverages, it increases the risk of multiple types of cancers. Multiple types of cancers. And 3.5% of all cancers are alcohol related, including oral cavity, pharynx, larynx, esophageal. We talked about this, right? Liver cancer, because all of the things that either alcohol touches or alcohol needs to process in your body, cancer rate goes way up. I lost a friend to cancer, to liver cancer, to bile duct cancer, which is a portion of the liver, not too long ago. Oh my gosh, I want to say it was 5 years ago. It was during COVID. Awful, awful, awful. Colorectal cancer. You know, you're going to go in and get if you're over the age of 45, you need to make sure that you go get your colonoscopy. If you're drinking, your risk of colon cancer, which is a deadly one, straight through the roof. Vitamin deficiencies, good one, your triangle of youth. Vitamin deficiencies, B1, folate, B12, that's exactly right. Those all get tanked, sucked out of your system when you're adding alcohol, right? So everywhere alcohol touches, everything that alcohol, and then even things that it doesn't, it increases breast cancer. Alcohol consumption increases breast cancer. So that doesn't even touch how alcohol is digested, but it still increases breast cancer. And then there is a debate. Here's the country that's doing it. Ireland is the first country that's stepping up with science-backed mandated bottle warnings in red, requiring the law by 2026. So by next year, free radical damage as well, yeah. By next year, Ireland, on all of their bottles, is going to have a cancer warning, like we have on our cigarette packs. A cancer warning is going to be on every bottle of alcohol in Ireland. Way to go, Ireland. Way to go. And there's a direct link with alcohol and fatal cancers. We already talked about that. Liver disease. People have the right to know the risks, right? Think about if we still did not have those warnings on a cigarette pack. We have the right to know that something that we're consuming that is being sold to us and marketed to us, what effect does it have on our body? And that is why I applaud Ireland for putting those labels that are coming in next year on bottles, because we want to know. We don't want to go our whole life being spoon-fed Clydesdale's horses from Budweiser and how cool it is to have a martini. We don't want to be fed all that stuff and not have a realistic, real life. Like, what are the bad things that can happen? What's the bad shit that's going to happen if I do this? We have a right to know, right? I think we do. We have a right to know those risks. Just as we have a right to know the risks on food and on cigarettes, we have a right to know the risks. That's a pretty big bottle of vodka you have at home. I know. Yeah, we do. It's a big bottle of vodka. In fact, I think there's a couple more. When I have a party, I don't not serve alcohol. When my kids come over, I just don't drink it. I just don't drink it. And I'm going to talk about what has helped me really. But even your immune system, your mental health, all of that stuff is affected. And we think like, oh, does what we drink matter because of resveratrol and we get the polyphenols and da-da-da-da? No, it doesn't matter if it's this or this. Yeah, you get a little bit more vitamins with this. But if you're not drinking organic wine, you know how many pesticides are in organic or in non-organic wine? Red dye number 5. I think it's red dye number 5. or mega purple, sorry, it's mega purple that makes wine really, really dark in color, because psychologically we think that the darker it is, the better the wine. So if your teeth are being stained purple or stained red, you're drinking a wine that has mega purple in it, a dye, to psychologically trick us to think that it's a higher quality wine. We have been fucked with, you guys. We have. If you have symptoms of cravings, withdrawal, drinking more over time, your tolerance has gone up, your inability to stop drinking when you try, you continue to drink even when it has a negative impact on your health, your daily life, your relationships, you're spending a lot of time seeking activities related to alcohol, you might have a problem and need to stop. If you are over that range of moderate drinking, which most people who drink are, because we have portion control problems, you might want to consider stopping. So I'm going to tell you now what worked for me. Okay? Here we go. There is a book called The Easy Way to Control Alcohol by Alan Carr. And when I was sober curious and I was, really kind of cutting down my alcohol and figuring out how to do it and making mocktails and maybe one glass of alcohol, then mocktails after that. I tried lots of different stuff as I was experimenting with this. And the thing that kind of had, like what I try to do when I do lectures like this or when I coach, I want light bulbs to go off, because if you understand the how and the why of something, you're a lot less likely to do the bad behavior and a lot more likely to implement those healthy lifestyle hacks. This book did this for me. There's a couple of books. One is The Easy Way to Control Alcohol by Alan Carr. When I post this to my main feed, if you just comment the word sober curious, 2 words, sorry, sober curious, I'll give you a link to the stuff that's worked for me, right? One of them is that book. The other book it really talked about, the reason why I liked that is because it really connected the dots between, well, I'm carrying around a beverage that's liquid, and I'm dehydrated because of this, because of the alcohol, I'm going to drink. And then I dehydrate more, and then I'm going to drink. And I dehydrate more. I'm carrying this around. Seems like the simplest solution. That's where it really, there were some light bulb moments in that particular book called The Easy Way to Control Your Alcohol by Alan Carr. The second book, if you are somebody who AA does not work for you, or you're, not one with organized religion or 12 steps, but you are more one with the universe. That's kind of me. A book called Quit Like a Woman by Holly Whitaker. Fascinating book on a different way to quit, that did not have you going to AA meetings or NA meetings for the rest of your life. Quit Like a Woman by Holly Whitaker. That one is not in the auto-populate, so when you make the comment of sober curious, and again, I'll have a pinned comment there so you'll know what to do. It will give you the book Easy Way to Control Alcohol. It'll give you a link to that. It will not give you the link to Quit Like a Woman by Holly Whitaker, because I don't know why, I ran out of time and didn't get to do that. Another thing that has really helped me is Crave Control. And this is my supplement that works with neurotransmitters in the brain. I'm going to tell you how this really helps. It helps with sugar addiction. It also helps with alcohol addiction. It's called Crave Control. So what this does, and I would take 4 of these in the morning. I just fell into the alcohol. But I would take 4 of these capsules in the morning, and you'll see that not only do you stop craving sugar and carbs, but it also helps with alcohol. So you can take 4 in the morning and then 4, I want to say, in the afternoon. I wouldn't take them at night, but in the afternoon, late afternoon even, 4 or 5 o'clock. And you will see that not only will you stop craving carbs and sugar, but your alcohol cravings will reduce. It works with neurotransmitters in the brain. It is those pleasure centers in the brain. And I have a lot of clients that this has not only helped them lose weight, but also help them get their alcohol under control. So when I post this to my main feed and you comment Sober Curious, you will get a link to this, which I think is like, you'll get $10 off your first order and blah, blah, blah. This is hugely effective. I was trying to think of the word. It's like not, I just want you guys to try it once, and then send me a review, because you are going to be blown away at how effective this product actually is. So this has helped me. Those 2 books have helped me. And then own it. Are you a heavy drinker or not? We went through the whole thing, right? If I poured this other little ounce out. If you're having more than 1 of these a day as a woman, you are considered to be a heavy drinker. And remember, there's no amount of alcohol that's going to be healthy, but you're considered to be a heavy drinker. So own your shit. Where are you? Are you purposely, hey, you want to go out to dinner tonight? You've told yourself, hey, I'm only going to drink when I go out to dinner with friends. How many times now are you trying to go out to dinner with friends? Right? Own your behavior, own your thing. Like, take a good hard look in the mirror. And when I did and started really kind of noticing changes, my sleep, my exercise, my diet, my snacks, my water intake, my healthy habits, my mindset, my mood, my anxiety, mental clarity, I rated them on a scale of 1 to 10. And in every single way, alcohol affected all of that. My anxiety, my mental clarity, my mood, my mindset, my healthy habits, what I put in my body the next day, what I consumed, how many vegetables I ate the next day. All of it was affected. Especially as a midlifer, because it stays in our system a lot longer, right? And so ask that question. Own your shit. Where am I in that level of moderate to heavy drinking? And if you think you are a moderate drinker, I stand to challenge you. Look at it again, and look at it again with the recommended DA. Of course, there's no recommended daily allowance anymore, but what constitutes a single serving of alcohol. And then own your shit. Are you a moderate drinker or are you a heavy drinker? And if you're a heavy drinker or even a moderate drinker, you might want to make some changes. And so think about it. Are you making excuses for your drinking? Am I giving myself permission to behave badly? And this was one of my things that I really had to come to terms with, because, I've got 3 kids and a stepchild. I went through a major divorce 15 years ago. Moved into a new house. Mom has Alzheimer's. I have a daughter who's got addiction issues. Like, you want to come up with an excuse to drink? I got a lot of them. I got a lot of excuses to drink, right? And are we giving ourselves permission to behave badly? I've had a really bad day at work. I deserve a drink. My colleague was such an asshole to me. I deserve a drink. I'm going to have a cocktail. We often give ourselves permission to make poor choices. The whole my boss is an asshole. I'm going to sit down on the couch and polish off a bag of Doritos. Or my I'm fighting with my sister. Forget it. Fighting with my sister. Let me just stay in this world. I want to be angry. I want to be fighting. I want to be whatever. Give me an excuse to behave badly. I want to be drinking is what you want to be doing. Not I want to be fighting with my sister. I want to think my boss is an asshole. Nobody gets along with me. You want to be drinking. And so by giving yourself the out of saying, I'm having a bad day, I deserve this, is not owning your shit. If you had to come home every time you had a bad day at work, or somebody was an asshole to you, or somebody cut you off at the freeway and eat just a plain stalk of celery, you'd have a lot fewer bad days. your boss wouldn't be as much of an asshole if you had to eat celery, straight plain celery, until he became less of an asshole. But if your boss is an asshole and you pick up a glass of wine, your boss is going to be an asshole for a very long time, because you're giving yourself permission. As long as he's an asshole, you're giving yourself permission to drink. Does that make sense? That's what I mean by own your shit. Why are you drinking? Are you drinking because your body is craving alcohol? Are you making up reasons to drink so that you give yourself permission for bad behavior? Figure it out. I got stuck in traffic for 2 hours. I need a drink. Do you? Maybe you need a glass of water. I need to go take off your shoes and go sit in the grass for a little bit. You don't necessarily need a drink. If you, like I said, if you were to come home and eat raw celery, plain raw celery, until you decompressed after your 2-hour traffic jam, you'd probably come home a lot less fuming, right? We'd have fewer shitty days at work if you had come home and had to eat plain romaine lettuce until you felt better. You'd feel better pretty quickly. You'd be like, oh, okay, I'm better. But you come home and you drink and have a glass of wine. Oh, I'm not better. Let me call my friend. Let me complain about this. Let me just keep feeding it. Keep giving yourself the excuse for bad behavior. So think about even psychologically what that does. You're going to stay in that place of in a bad way purposefully so that you can drink, as opposed to talking yourself out of it, calling a friend, getting some more advice, or taking on a healthy habit, going out for a run. You're going to defuse a lot quicker if you go out for a long walk or go out grounding than if you pour yourself a glass of alcohol. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay. So that's it. Other tricks that I've used, like I'm all into non-alcoholic stuff. So my kids come over for dinner and everybody's having a glass of wine, or if I'm at like a function, Thanksgiving or whatever, I don't want to be like I don't want to say the weirdo, because nobody's weird. I don't want to be like the person who's like, no, don't drink alcohol. Everybody do your own stuff. But as a health coach, I'm not going to partake. And if you ask me about it, I'm going to tell you why. But I really do like the new alcohol removed wines that they have. I don't drink a lot of them because they're still full of calories, and you do want to make sure that you're drinking organic. But I am loving things like mocktails where I'll take like a Palm Wonderful that's great as an antioxidant, as a superfood, and mix it with a little bit of a seltzer water, which is what I have here. This is Palm Wonderful to about here, mixed with like a seltzer water, some ice, some fresh mint from my garden, and a fresh lemon from my tree. It's delicious. It's delicious. You get used to it. It's delicious. And then you realize when you wake up that next morning and you're 100% and I don't fall over in tree pose during yoga, I'm like, aha! And your skin will look better, and you'll lose weight. These have been like a lifesaver too, like these little mini things where I can squirt this into like a thing of water. So this is called Evening Rest. It's called Wind Down Easy Rest. This is by Apothecary. Oh my God, did I say that right? Yeah. Okay, sorry. It's called Free Spirit Minis. Stress supporting herbal tinctures, dietary supplements. These have really helped. So Evening Rest is called Wind Down, and you squirt this into like a thing of water. There's Take the Edge Off. That's an anytime calm. It's a light bodied and crisp. This is full bodied and rich. And then there's Daytime Bliss, which is a medium bodied and fruity. So these have really helped in that when I am with people that are drinking, I want to have something in my hand as well. And we oftentimes carry around stuff like that. So to have something that's still, we don't have to have a conversation about me carrying around a sparkling, beverage like that. We don't have to have a conversation at a party about what I'm drinking and what I'm not drinking. when I'm carrying something like this around, and I feel fantastic the next day. So if you are somebody that is struggling, when I post this to my main feed, just comment the word sober curious and send this to somebody who you feel is on that line. Either they're having health problems or they know better, and they want to make the changes. So those 2 books have really helped me. Little things like this that help make mocktails and things, that has really helped me. Owning my shit and knowing what category I was in, and really kind of listening to myself in terms of like, why am I drinking? Questioning that. Why do I feel the need right now? And then if you feel the need and you still are not able to control it, get the shit out of the house. Why would you, if you know that you're struggling, have this insight? If somebody else in your family still drinks, it's fine. Put it underneath the cupboard. Don't display everything out. Put it underneath the cupboard. Have a plan so that when your partner or your mate starts making their cocktail at night, you've got your mocktail ready to go. Don't wait. Put the other stuff out of sight. Get the stuff that's good for you in sight. When you tell yourself you're not going to drink tonight, don't break the promise to yourself. I talked about this in terms of New Year's resolutions. It's the number 1 New Year's resolution. I could tell anybody, stop freaking breaking promises to yourself. If you can't learn to trust yourself, you're going to learn to trust. When you say you're not going to do something, don't do it. And I don't care if that means you have to go to bed at 6 p.m. You did this, it didn't work, right? So say somebody else was drinking in your house, you did your mocktail, it didn't work. Remove yourself from the situation. Don't break the promise to yourself. Once you say you're not going to do it, don't do it. And then monitor your progress, right? Do those little experiments like I did. How do you feel the next day? How are you exercising? What kind of gusto, I guess is the lack of a better word, are you putting into your workout the next day? If you drank versus if you didn't drink. Put it in your calendar, the date that you actually stopped. It helps. All of those little things help. Write it on a Post-it note. Last drink. I don't know what today is. January 17th, whatever today is. Write it on a Post-it note. There's also like apps you can do, like Reframe app, where you log your drinks all the time. But those are the things that have really helped me. It was making sure that I had a plan, right? I read the book, Easy Way to Control Your Alcohol. I read the book, Quit Like a Woman by Holly Whitaker. I took Crave Control, which I still take sometimes when I'm going, it's like around the holidays and things like that. I have a lot of clients on this for sugar control, for carb control, for all of those kind of cravings, because it works with the same pathways that alcohol does in terms of the pleasure centers of your brain. And then own your shit, right? Make sure that are you a heavy drinker? Are you a light drinker? And be prepared with the alternatives. Okay, that's all I have, everybody. When I post this to my main feed, just comment the words sober curious, and you will get a link to my Crave Control. You'll get a link to these Free Spirit Minis by Apothecary, and you will also get a link to the book, Easy Way to Control Your Drinking. And you'll get links to like other help, like Al-Anon, AA, NA. That will all go in those links too when you just use those 2 words, sober curious, once I post this. Okay, that's all I have, everybody. I'm off to see my mom tomorrow. I'm very excited. And then I will see you next Saturday. Next Saturday, I have a big giveaway again. That Swyrise Dome, which is over there somewhere. The Swyrise Dome, that red light therapy dome. They're wanting to give away another one. So we'll talk about LED, and we'll talk about light and the effect on the body. And I'll give you, one lucky winner will have a giveaway of one of those red light therapy LED domes. Okay, I'll see you guys next week on Saturday at 12. Have a great rest of your day.